Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's online coach. Today, I'm chatting with the lovely Ashley, who you may have known her from MA Services. However, there has been a change of branding and they're going forward. I love how I'm already putting the pun intended with the name, but they've changed the name to Forward Moves, where they specialized in branding, digital assets, and systems for fitness businesses. Ashley, I want us to start with a conversation of, can you share the story of how you got started on your social media journey and motivated you to enter this beautiful space?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, first of all. My story is a little bit unique when it comes to entering this space. I previously wasn't in the fitness space. I was always an enthusiast around it, but I just remember thinking back now, I always wanted to work in the industry, but I never wanted to be a coach. So it's funny how the universe happens. But honestly, my journey started in 2021 in the lockdowns. One of my coach at the time asked if anyone could make a spreadsheet on her story. I made it. It snowballed out of control, and I could tell that there was a bit of a business in it. That was before the disruption in the industry of training apps and software. So spreadsheets were really quite big. And honestly, I had no strategy behind my socials. It was a bit of a sole trader business side hustle. We started developing products such as terms and conditions and my fitness power guide, and it just spiraled out of control. And within 4 months, we were a full business model with staff members. So it grew really, really quick. But the only thing that I did on my socials was I just showed up authentically. I showed the behind the scenes of the business, and just my story. And I feel that is such a strong pull still, because 90% of the people that we work with have been following me since the very start. So it's honestly just authentically showing up on my story, showing the behind the scenes and being consistent. There was really no strategy behind it. Now we do have a little bit more strategy with what we do because we have to, but in the beginning it was just show up and never. I honestly think back now, and I didn't care what anyone thought of me because I didn't know anyone. And we were in lockdown and I was just like, I don't care anymore. Now I care a little bit too much, but that's what it was. I just didn't care, and I was doing what I loved, and it just grew like that. So
I want us to talk about the authentic side of things of showing up and how you literally did not care back then. And you mentioned there's a little bit of care for it right now. And I want to know what has changed, but what does authentically showing up mean to you?
So what's changed is the brand isn't just me anymore. It's not just who I am. It's a representation of my entire team. I'm not Forward Moves. I'm a part of Forward Moves. And yes, I drive the boat, but I don't run it. So I think there's a lot more pressure. The bigger that you get, the more people look at your mistakes and pick out your mistakes as well. So it's very much inevitable. The bigger that you get, the better strategy you need to have in order to draw people in, because there's more eyes on you. So I guess that's the bridge that I've really crossed. But also with that, I do this all the time. I lose my train of thought when I'm talking. But also with that, I think now we know a lot of people in the industry, we want to do right by everyone, and you don't want to put out mistakes or put out false information. So there's a lot more on the line, I guess, with that area. And it's not just, again, my personal identity, it's my entire business. But showing up authentically, I think I've always had a very non-polished business. We've always been quite, here's the tears, here's the tantrum, here's the fun, here's the behind the scenes. And it's not so much polished and people feel like they can't reach us or be like us. It's more of a, we're just you, but we're just specialized in something else. So it's very much been that. But yeah, I show the tears, the tantrums, the behind the scenes, and people love it. And I will never stop doing that. That's always been a very strong point with what we do.
Tell me about the tears and tantrums, because I feel as if this is something that a lot of people are scared or worried about what people are going to think when they do show up like that. Has that ever crossed your mind, or you're just like, hey, this is reality?
Yeah, absolutely. I think being scared, I'm scared every day. I think owning a business, it's just a fear that you have to get used to. Um, I really struggled with it. I'm not going to lie. I've done my fair share of mindset and therapy to help with the business. I think with the trajectory of growth that we had to, it shot a lot of challenges out of the park. I lost a lot of friends, little things like that. But I soon realized that the only people that are going to speak bad about you are the people that aren't doing what you're doing. And as you grow naturally, you start to grow into new friendship spaces and networking spaces. And at this current point in time, I've got such incredible advisors and teams around me that I know that they're not going to judge me on what I do. And if they do, that's not my problem. I'm building my own business and that's my success. So it's been really hard. Like the tears have been a lot, and there's been a lot of times where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But it's just honestly leaning into the people that support you and not holding on to the people that don't. That was the biggest part for me. I remember earlier this year, actually, like personally, I really struggled because I felt like I fit in nowhere, and it was really exhausting for me. And you just have to do the work. It just comes with the business. You just got to do the work. And now I'm content and happy. And that's just the mindset side of things. The business side of things is always wild, and you're never going to be able to put out that fire. It's just learning how to manage it. So.
And you made such a good point in relation to managing your mindset around the business side of things, because the fact of life, there's constantly going to be the challenges coming through, and it just having that reflection of going, cool, like is this actually something that I'm still wanting to do? Yes or no? Yes, cool, then like dig in, go hard, and do what needs to be done. And sometimes if you have that conversation where like, well, yeah, actually no, I don't want to do this anymore, it's like being honest with yourself whether you're in it 100% or not. And I can totally relate to the side of things where you just want to stop. Like there's days where you're like, you know what? You question yourself and you're like, why am I doing this? Like, what is my purpose? But then exactly as you said, it's like pulling back going, I'm doing this for this X, Y, and Z reason. And that's what makes you move forward.
Absolutely. I think moves forward. Business name, see why. Definitely. I think there's a lot of time in business where especially this year, and I will get into it, how we close half the business, but I've felt like I'm getting nowhere. But I think with that is you forget how blessed you are when you own a business. I just moved from Newcastle to Sydney. I was able to do that because I run my own business. I get to pick my team. I have fun every day at work. Work doesn't feel like a chore for me, and I'm building a future. And I think we're so negatively biased in our lives that we forget what's actually going on behind the scenes. And you can't make everyone happy, but as long as you enjoy your day-to-day life, that's all that matters. And that's what keeps me going. I have a vision and I love what I do. So this is nothing compared, like the negatives that I go through is really nothing compared to going back to a 9 to 5. I don't want to do that. So
again, it's like having that harsh conversation with yourself going, do you want to go back to where you were unhappy, or would you rather just fight through knowing at the end, well, actually there's no fucking end, it's a continuous journey, but knowing that you're striving for something that you're actually really passionate about. Let's talk about the failures. I think people love fucking goss and they love knowing about the nitty gritty stuff, but let's be real right now that we know that business is not always a linear progression. There's the ups and downs, and sometimes there's a really big down. So I'd love to know what's been happening.
Yeah, a lot. We've had some massive failures, I'm not going to lie. So originally, and I know a lot of your listeners have followed us for a long time as well. Originally, we were a virtual administration business, and then we expanded into design, and then we expanded into different areas of business. And I recently shut the VA side of the business and shut down a lot of our packages and closed off. Unfortunately, had to put staff off, and it was really tough. And I just remember the months leading up to it. I just felt, for lack of a better word, I felt really neurotic. Like I was really heightened all the time. I was really struggling and I didn't know why. And I remember the realization of I need to shut this area of business. We couldn't fix anything. Everything was going wrong. We just were having a really rough time making it work. We lost, this is real talk, we lost about 15 clients in 2 weeks. So it was really, really tough and it was really scary. And we went back and forth all the time trying to make it work. But I always found that this area of business just never worked. It was impossible. And it was the business model, it was the structure. And I remember the night I decided to close the business, and the decision was very quick. So I received an email from a client, and that night I sent a video to my strategic advisor and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, I can't keep doing this. I'm not happy. I don't see a future in it. And she just responded to me, I've been waiting for this for months. She was like, you have my permission to do it. Not that I need it. The next day I called my lawyers, and the day after I made the decision. It was very, very quick turnaround. And since that day, since that failure, I was always very scared, very upset. The amount of things that have come my way since I made that decision have been unbelievable. I've never been so happy. My strategic advisor came on permanently with me, so she's now a big part of our business. We've had opportunities that I'm not allowed to speak about yet pop up that I still can't comprehend that they've happened to us. And I think if I didn't fail and if I didn't go through that 6 months, I wouldn't realize how good I've got it now. And it was so scary. And I'm talking like we were at a loss of 6 figures, scary on a projection basis. So it was definitely one of them things where we needed to make a decision quickly. And I guess now I look back and I kick myself for not doing it a little bit earlier, but it's a lesson. And it was hard. It was really hard. Hardest thing I've ever done in business, for sure.
I think any obstacle that we come across around these type of decision makings really, really makes us think, as you mentioned, is like you said, I wish I could have, I wish I've done it sooner, but it's just like, we wouldn't have known if that was the path that you were going to take. And sometimes, as you mentioned before we even started recording, it's just like taking that risk, taking that leap of faith and knowing and not knowing what's going to happen, because too often we're always striving for more, whether it's like more clients, more money, more fame, whatever it is. But then people don't realize across that journey, there are going to be failures.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be consequences.
100%. And one of the biggest risks that we faced was MA services was aligned with VA services. That's what people knew us for. So when we decided to shut that area of business, that's when the rebrand came up, and we were like, let's do a new business name. And I'll keep mentioning my strategic advisor. She emailed me and she was like, let's do a business name change. I was like, nope, not happening. I can't do that. Like, absolutely not. She's like, no, let's do it. She was like, let's get rid of that name. Let's make it fun. Let's make it fresh. And I was like, nah, I can't do it. And I just remember us going back and forth. And then we decided on the business name, did the branding, and I was like, this is it. And we continued with that. 8 weeks ago, we made that decision. And honestly, we are doing better than we were doing when we had VA services in regards to revenue and things like that. We are in a much better place. So you just got to take the risk. It's very, very hard, but I'm so happy I took that risk.
What do you think changed? Because you've mentioned that now things are much better by taking this new move.
I think what's changed is because we niche down into what we do, and now all that we do is branding and business activations. That's everything. Because we niched down, I had the capacity to focus in what our offers were. On top of that, we invested in social media strategy and little things like that as well, just to help out. And we're very aligned with what we offer, and people know what we offer. So we drew clients in because it was one offer. This is it, nothing else. All of our energy and time goes into it. And that's drawn people towards us. So it really helped niching down that area of business.
And speaking of niching down, you're predominantly helping health and fitness coaches in the industry when it comes to their branding and marketing. How have you been able to help them tailor their approach better to serve their audience or their clients, or even like your own presence in social media?
I think it comes down to something we focus on a lot. It's just simplifying the marketing, simplifying who you're talking to. And we work with a lot of starter coaches. We work with a lot of people in their first year. And I've been through this myself. You want to help anyone and everyone. And that is your target niche, like anyone that wants help. And at the end of the day, it's, you wouldn't speak to your mum like you speak to your friends. So you need to pick a certain group of people and you need to talk to them. And I think it's actually giving them the confidence and the strategies to go out there and speak to clients, because when you give it and they implement it, clients come in and it happens. So, and again, the art of simplifying. And I always speak to my team and our clients about this, because we're in the fitness industry. We know the macros, we know the calories, we know the training, everything. But when you go into a shop or when you go to a group of friends and you say that you track calories, they're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And you kind of get lost in the industry, and you get lost because you follow all these other coaches and the market's saturated. But if you go to your group of friends and say, do you follow any coaches? They're like, I don't know any coaches. So it's really giving them that perspective of, yes, the market feels saturated. And yes, you feel like you're just putting out the same old knowledge all the time. But that is what draws your people in, your clients in, because the general population don't know that. And that is, we really try and simplify that process for our clients. And give them perspective of, you think it's saturated because you follow everyone. Go onto your partner's account, go onto your mum's account. They won't follow anyone. And that's who you need to target. So really breaking that down for our coaches is a big one.
And you made such a good point, because a lot of coaches follow coaches. And I'm sure now that you're amongst this industry, you're probably following a lot of coaches. And, you know, again, it comes down to like that comparison thinking, oh, they're doing this, so I need to do this. But it's just like, again, like entailing exactly who you're helping. Like if you're coaching coaches, yeah, cool. Like, you know, obviously you're going to help them. But as you mentioned, it's like niching down to how you're speaking to your audience, which I know is such an important thing, especially to be so successful in their way of marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the language you use around your audience, for example, one that we use all the time is toned. Toned has got such a bad undertone in the industry. But when you're speaking, if your target market is the general population that's just entering the industry, they want to be toned. So you need to speak to them in that language that you know, draw them in, make them enter, and then teach them what that actually means. It doesn't mean you're toning, it means you're building muscle. So it's really taking away that ego from what you know and actually speaking to your clients the way that they want to speak to. Another one with this is far too often it's, I've got all these features, I've got all these benefits. I do your form, technique, and demonstration. What does that mean? What does that mean to people? You need to actually break that down and say, I will analyze your videos for you so you can feel confident in the gym and get rid of your gym anxiety and avoid injuries. So again, breaking down, you feel silly when you're saying it, but that is how you sell to beginners, basically. So it's really categorizing each area.
And you're so right, because it does feel a little bit silly and cringy at times to constantly repeat yourself. But again, the world of marketing and social media, people generate through information so quickly that most of the time they don't even remember half of the shit they watch.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool, like repetition works, consistency works. So it's constantly working on that. And this ties in really nicely in regards to them feeling confused for for many ways of coming up in social media around like the health and fitness industry. And I would love for you to share some strategies or insights to help these coaches navigate this landscape a little bit more effectively.
With social media, it is a landscape that's changing rapidly. And I think, if I'm completely honest, social media isn't my complete area of expertise. I'm more an email marketing, general marketing overview. But if you don't know it, invest in someone that knows it. So for example, I work with a company called Envy. They've completely changed my social media game and given me the confidence to actually work with social media. So I think far too often coaches or every entrepreneur I know, I need to do it all myself. I don't have the money to invest. It's really, really funny because it's what they preach to their clients. They've just got to flip that script. It's not a cost, it's an investment. And that's what they say to their clients. That's what they need to say about business. But definitely, like, I had no idea how to navigate social media. I invested in a company that does it, and now I feel confident navigating it. So that would be my number one recommendation. Number two is something that I've actually learned in this rebrand journey. I have done a rebrand series on my stories, and the amount of people that are engaged in our rebrand and waiting for the name to launch is incredible, because we've shown the behind the scenes. We've told people that we had to shut our office to have money for the rebrand, and we had to shut down half the business, and just showing up as your authentic self online. It honestly draws the most people in. People love being nosy. People love days in the life. They love to see what's going on behind the scenes, and you just think people don't want to see that because you think it's boring. So that would be my only tip, but definitely just investing in someone that knows what they're doing is the biggest thing.
Social media, again, as you mentioned, it's such a world of like constant change and adaptation, and really understanding it on a deeper level to be successful around that.
I think, like, absolutely it is. And I think people are so quick to blame the algorithm that it's changing so much. But honestly, it's just the same as showing up every day. Just post content every day, post reels every day, just get up there, do it. And as harsh as it sounds, if you don't show up, your business isn't going to grow, and you're the problem for that. You need to quickly change that if you want your business to grow. And calorie infographics, amazing education for people to be mindful on the road. Training cues, amazing information for people that don't know how to train. It's just the little things like that we often overcomplicate and think. But the algorithm is always going to change. You just have to be consistent with your posting. That's all it is.
And it's definitely the consistent side of things. And I'm sure you come across this with a lot of coaches where they have this fear of showing up, or fear of talking, or fear of posting.
Absolutely. I think it's normal for everyone. I remember I was scared when I first started, but I think as well, everyone's going to judge you. And if you live your life in fear, you're never going to grow. Unfortunately, growing is uncomfortable, and you just need to show up. And I think it's really hard because I do have a big fear of judgment as well. But again, it depends. It comes down to your passion, to your drive. How much do you want to make this work? And then you need to work through them fears. And I can't stress enough how much mindset coaching has helped me throughout the year to actually overcome these barriers. I think being in business, you have a responsibility to take care of yourself as well, especially when it's your person and your brand. But also just accepting the fact that you just can't make everyone happy. So just show up, do you, people will love you for it. It's the 1% that doesn't like it.
I'm so glad that you mentioned about the mindset side of things, and how you yourself are investing in your own health while taking care of a business, of people. And I would love to know if you're open to sharing, like, what did that look for you with this transition of investing in your mindset, but also the change of the company right now?
I think it's the trend. So I started with my coach, a lady called Amy. She's amazing. I started with her about 6 months ago, and this is when I was really struggling with business, and every session I'd be crying, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this, and I just felt so hopeless. And I think it was just having someone guide me through my emotions to realize that she knew the outcome when she came to me. She knew what I had to do, but it was guiding me on my journey to get there. And it was more of I think when you're a business owner, and especially when you're a boss, people tend to please you a lot and people tend to tell you that you're doing well. But she was like, no, you're not. She was like, you're not doing well. This is what we need to work on. But I definitely think my mindset has had a huge impact on the growth of the business over the last 6 months, because I got to the point where I realized that I can do it. And before that, I didn't think I could do it. So, and yeah, it's just helped so incredibly much. It's not my area of expertise and I can't really speak on it, but it's definitely helped remove the head noise and actually allow me to process my thoughts. And something that I'm not good with is I don't make time for myself. My business is my life. It's my number one priority. And it was good to have, you need to rest, you need to force rest. And with this forced rest came the decisions of, I'm going to close down half my business. So it definitely helped having someone guide me and keep me accountable in that area.
It's so relatable to the passion that we have of wanting to constantly work on the business or in the business or whatever it is. But there's also consequences to it by neglecting our own needs. And as you mentioned, you taking forced rest has actually benefited you to making really big decisions, but these decisions are fucking paying off. And I would love to know, like, what does this forced rest look like for you?
Oh, it's hard. It's so hard. Sometimes I have to have my phone removed from the room and no laptop, nothing, because if I get my hands on it, I start and I can't stop. But forced rest for me is definitely, I'm a huge reader. I'm a huge reader. And lately it's been fantasy, like actually getting into a fantasy book. And as bad as it sounds, escaping the world and getting into that book, I can actually fall asleep properly once I do that. So normally, like, I think of work as soon as I go to sleep, I'm thinking of work. But it's that period between putting the book down and falling asleep that I actually have that forced rest because I'm so calm. So it's that period where all my ideas come to life. Something else that's really helped me as well is Saturdays are no work days. So Saturdays are my days where I go out for breakfast with my partner. I do all like my fun stuff. I go shopping, spend too much money. And that at the end of that day, that's when I start having a lot of creative ideas because I've actually taken care of myself. So little things like that. I think rest looks really different to everyone. At the end of the day, my priority is my business. So I have to sacrifice a lot of my time, but having little structures like that in place really help.
Sacrifices is something that many people speak about positively and negatively. And I would love to know, like, what is your perspective around sacrificing, whether it's, you know, relationship time, family time, friends time, your own time?
Yeah, I think it's a really tough one because it leans into hustle culture a lot, and there's a lot of talk around that. But I truly believe that in different stages of your life, you're going to have different priorities. I can tell you right now, my top three priorities are gym, work, and my relationship. And they're the three things I make time for. And I think it really comes down to what area you're in your life, and understanding it's going to ebb and flow. So some months of the year, business might not be number one. Haven't experienced that yet, but you know, it'll dip and it will change. But I think with sacrifices as well, it's all a part of your growth and how much you're willing to grow. So I actually come from a background of like a pretty big party lifestyle. I used to go out every weekend with my friends, be really social, had a lot of fun, and I changed out of that. And I don't want to, the last thing I want to do. I don't want to do that anymore. It just does not sound fun to me at all. And it was sacrificing that life to have the life that I wanted and feeling lonely in between. The loneliness that I felt over the last year has been honestly the most painful. I don't want to tear up. It's been the most painful part of the business. It's the loneliness. And oh my God, I'm going to tear up. And it's because I have left my old life. I don't know where I am, and now I'm entering a new life. So I think, again, having a mindset coach allowed me to see that vision of where I want to be. But I also, on the other hand, I don't believe in being so successful that you can't have time for people. You make time for people. And the only I have a relationship and I want to share my success with that relationship. So I make time for it. And I think having success alone can be really sad and horrible, but having success with people that want to celebrate you, it's important to nurture them. So it's a 50-50, definitely.
Yeah, I can so relate to the loneliness side of things, especially when you start off and you're veering into a new way of living, doing, being, where your old friendship groups or co-workers just don't understand or get the level of sacrifices that you're making. And again,
Yeah.
it can be very lonely, and it like really gets you
Oh,
thinking.
like I think I'm still on the tail end of it. And honestly, I was talking to my mindset coach about this a few weeks ago. I had one day where I just realized that I didn't belong and I cried so much. I was inconsolable. My partner was like, I don't know what to do, what's happening. And I was just inconsolable. And it's you're grieving your old life, but something I watched something the other day and it really resonated to me. You're killing the person that people love and they don't want to love a new person. And I think that's the hardest part of the journey. But I think what's kept me close is I was quite negative about it, being like, I've got no friends, like all of that kind of stuff. But when you actually look at it again, I do have friends. I have friends in different places, but I'm just attached to my old life. And it's very hard to detach yourself from that. So honest, it's been the hardest part of the journey. Like my heart hurts talking about it. The loneliness that you experience in business is just unbelievable. And people can't understand why you do it. And neither do we. It's like putting yourself through torture, but loving it every second of the way. But yeah, it's been really, really hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's honestly been so isolating.
Wouldn't you say that is part of the growth journey?
Absolutely. I really feel now that I'm more secure in myself than I've ever been. I know who I am as a person. I know where I want to be. And I'm okay with being alone because I know that I'm going to have more friends pop up in the future. So I think it's just all a part of growth and it's a very, very painful part. And I think that is something that really inspires me as well, is that people don't want to go through this pain so they don't change. So the fact that I'm willing to go through it means that it means a lot to me to make this work.
With that belief system, and I'm sure from your own experiences and obviously working with coaches yourself, what would you say, what do you believe sets a successful individual when it comes to them building a solid business or a personal brand that stands out?
I think the most successful people are the people that just don't give up. That's it. If you don't give up, you can't fail. I think when it comes to a personal brand, I actually really struggle to talk about this because I have a business brand. Like I don't have a personal brand. My personal Instagram is on private. I haven't gotten to that point where I want to make it public yet. But I think something that really solidifies my brand is at the end of the day, I am my brand. People look at MA now, but Forward Moves when this comes out and they see Ash and I'm a big part of it. And I think something that I've always wanted to carry on with my business is the fact that we are laid back. We're normal people. And it's very important to be able to relate rather than say, I'm better than you. And I think that's been really, really important in our journey. But yeah, with our personal brand, can't really talk because I don't have one as such because I don't run my own side thing. But definitely with our brand, it's the fact that we aren't untouchable. We're relatable, we're normal people, but we just specialize in something to help you. So, I think, can't talk too much on it yet.
That's okay. We have to remain quiet till the day comes and then we can just like vomit it all out.
I know it's all happening. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait. I'm really bad at keeping secrets as well, so it's been really hard.
Is this big event coming up? Is it in like the near future? Is it like next year? So we can give our listeners a little bit of a taste?
Well, basically, with the launch, there's a lot of things happening. So, for example, we've invested in a new platform to streamline all our services into one. One of the main issues was communication with the build. It's very hard. So we've streamlined everything to a platform, but as I said, I work very closely with my strategic advisor. She's just going to keep popping up. She's a big trend in my life. And when I had the idea to shut MA, I pitched an idea to her about a business, and she loved it so much. She put me in touch with someone. And I can't mention it too much yet, but basically we are looking at going down a completely different route, and forward moves will still exist. But it's going to be, it's an innovative change to what we're currently doing at the moment. So I'm very excited for it. It's business and branding and everything that we encompass as a brand in one. But I cannot make the announcement just yet. So
Field. We have to wait. The suspense is probably killing everyone.
It's killing me, honestly.
I can so imagine.
Yeah, but it's one step at a time. Get through this rebrand, and then we can focus in on it. We start the first process in a couple months, and from that, we might have to do another behind the scenes journey for people to find out what we're doing.
With the behind the scenes, I know this like takes us back to what we started talking about in regards to the social media side of things. You're very big on this. And is this something that you would instigate more coaches to do so as well?
Absolutely. I think, for example, with our rebrand, our clients chose the colors. We put them on the story. They chose it. We showed the behind the scenes of choosing business names, even though we haven't released it. I think it's just people are so interested in other people's lives. Like we watch reality TV, we listen to podcasts, we watch documentaries. People are so interested in what you do as a person that you should leverage it. And it's so exciting to see what, for example, with my team, how my graphic designer works and how visions start to come to life and how things start to come together, because it provides that excitement for people. So with my staff, one of our favorite things is watching someone's vision come to life. We love starting at the start and seeing it all at the end. That's one of the most exciting parts of the journey. And I think when you show that online and you represent it online, they've been part of that journey. They've given you feedback. And at the end of the day, forward moves isn't for me. It's for my clients. It's for our community. So why shouldn't they be able to see behind the scenes of us building it? Why shouldn't they have a say on what the colors should be and everything like that? So I think incorporating your community into your business is such a strong thing, because the truth is we live in a society that's very lonely. A lot of us work from home, especially online coaches, and we want to have opinions and we want to be heard and we want to be seen and listened to. And I think it's the basic human psychology. Break it back down and this is my day. What do you think I should do? What colors do you think I should go with? What offer should I post? And having that, I think it really draws in such a strong presence in the community, because they feel like they're listened to and they feel like they're important enough to see what happens. So that's always been the core of what we do, with why we show the behind the scenes.
There's so much power to it. So much power.
Yeah, and I think people love mistakes. I think people, I find it really funny. People look at us, they're like, you guys have got it together. And it's like, we did not have it together. And it's like, oh, this is what we did and it didn't work. It kind of inspires people to be like, okay, I can do it. If they can do it on a big scale, I can do it on a little scale. So it's also that inspiration piece as well.
It's very inspiring to be so real and authentic. Yeah. Again, this goes back to what we started talking about, but literally just in a way, obviously, like we always care the way we show up, but also just not giving so much like time and effort to what we're putting into what people are thinking. It's just like, cool, it's going to be relatable to who is going to take it on board, and who doesn't, cool, they can just go on with their day.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, at the end of the day, if people don't like it, then they don't need to follow us. We're here for the people that want us to be here. And with that, we're not going to let the opinions of people that we haven't even meddled with ruin our journey, because we're on such a good journey. So I think it is hard, but you learn to pull yourself back from it. I don't even look at who looks at our stories anymore, because I don't want to, because that triggers me. So it's like, might as well just post it for it to be out there.
The story searching is an interesting one, because again, a lot of people work their way through that as a way of people liking them, or who's watching their stories and like trying to really like get into the nitty gritty. But like you said, it's just going to trigger you. So why do more of that?
Like I personally get triggered by little views versus big views versus all of this silly stuff, people not voting on polls. And it's like, at the end of the day, I'm posting on my story because someone who hasn't seen my story in 5 days might see it. And that's the only thing I care about. So yeah, I just learned to deal with it.
It's the consistent adaptation to the mindset around business, and also knowing like what's going to actually help you move forward. Pun intended. Mm-hmm. But also knowing that it's not just focusing solely on that, but focusing on the bigger picture.
Absolutely. And it always comes down to, you're doing good, people are not going to like you because you're projecting to them that they're not going to do what you're going to do. So just keeping that in mind and surrounding yourself, forcing yourself into situations. And this is a little bit different, where go to networking events, put yourself out of your comfort zone and meet people. The amount of incredible people that I work with, whether it's ex-clients, current clients, people I've met at networking events, strangers that support us so much, because they believe that they can do what the business is doing. So it's also putting yourself out of that comfort zone will help you want to post on social media as well, because you'll know the people and they'll support you.
So true. Ashley, thank you so much for today's conversation. I know a lot of our followers are going to have like little light bulb moments, and hopefully some of them will be taking some risks with their businesses moving forward. But before we head off, where can our listeners find you?
So you can find us, sounds so weird to say, but our Instagram is Forward Moves. Our website is www.forwardmoves.com.au. And that's about it at the moment. We don't have any other platforms besides, we don't even have TikTok set up at the moment. So that's it.
Instagram is the way to go at the moment. And, you know, maybe future TikTok as well.
Maybe we'll get there. Videos are hard.
Yes. Yeah. It's another like avenue to like tap into.
Absolutely. It's honestly a full-time job, running a TikTok account. It's a bit insane, but we'll get there one day.
We will, definitely. Well, girls, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag Forward Moves, tag myself, and then let's take some risks and put in some good energy into our businesses.